Hey there, welcome to the How She Made It series where we are talking about what it takes to be a wealthy woman. I am your host, Tiffany Scott, the founder of You, Me, She Collective, where we help women connect with their own uniqueness so they can create their in-demand brand. I'm also the founder of Sister Suppers, sistersuppers.com. Check it out, where we are helping women create community from within their homes. And you can see the gorgeous, vivacious Shameca Tankerson right next to me now. Shameca is an award-winning business coach, sales strategist, and secret weapon for ambitious women. Shameca, it is so good to see you. It's been far too long. Please, we had such a great conversation. I was just saying we should have recorded this before we even started here. But I love what you shared about your journey from where you were to why you do the work that you do now. So if you can share about, firstly, you focus on how you help women through sales, which is
Yes.
powerhouse at it. And then what made you create your own business?
So, yes, I work with women on sales. Here's what I realized though. I've been in sales for a very, very long time. I joke and say I've been selling since birth, a very long time. And so I decided after having a really hard breakdown in my life financially and with the business that I had at the time, and we can talk about that a little bit later, that one of the things I could support people with was sales. And here's what I recognized though, in working with my clients, no matter what level they came to me at, it didn't matter how much strategy I would try to pour onto it, how much scripting I tried to give them. If they had this underlying undercurrent of I'm not enough, who do I think I am, all of this limiting beliefs and behaviors that can show up, especially in high achievers, no amount of strategy would help them sell more. And the reason why I recognized it, because I recognized the same pattern in myself. So we were talking about this earlier, Tiffany, about the fact that I had a business in the real estate and mortgage industry, and there was the big crash, right? And people don't realize that the big crash was really a big crash. It wasn't just like a housing bubble that burst. And I was sharing with you how I had friends and colleagues that would show up to go to work, that worked at banks, and there would be padlocks on the door and all of their stuff. And this was happening like day in and day out. Like I would get a phone call, like it happened to me. And it like businesses were just closing. And so we had no place to even place loans. It wasn't that we didn't know how to run our businesses or that there weren't enough clients or that real estate had just priced itself out. Literally, because of all of the undercurrent that was going on in the financial services sector in the mortgage industry at that time with mortgage bonds and all of the fraud and all of that stuff, the lenders were being shut down. And so here I was, running a multiple six-figure business, literally stuck with multiple clients, about $12,000 a month in overhead, and nowhere to create more money. So my husband and I depleted our savings, even had some employees that weren't able to get paid at the end of that. And this is what I was left with because, and we're probably going to talk about this later because we're talking about wealth here, right? Most of my significance, most of what I thought was my worthiness and value was tied into what I had accomplished and those things. And so there was just so much shame, around because I didn't have anything to show for, what I had accomplished, so much shame. And I didn't really recognize it as shame at the time. I just knew that I was trying to rebuild my business and restart something new, and I couldn't get clients, no matter how hard I tried. So on the outside, I was like, you can do this. Still my confident self. Yes, I have an amazing business, and yeah, I'm open for business, and I would network and do all kinds of things. And when it came down to it, I was struggling. And the truth of the matter is that while on the outside, I was saying, yes, I'm open for business. On the inside, I was like, don't hire me because I'm not worthy. Because I had all this shame. How can you help someone else with their business? Didn't matter how magical I am with sales. Right? How much knowledge I had in that industry. The underlying current, the conversation in my head was, how can you help them if you can't help yourself, if you couldn't help yourself? And so that shame kept me stuck. And it wasn't until I dealt with it and released it that I was able to grow my business. And I recognized that in me, which allowed me to mirror that and recognize it in the people who were showing up in my world.
Yeah, that's so many beautiful lessons in that, because I think it's something that a lot of us really suffer with. when we work for ourselves, when we build a business around who we are, is,
Mm-hmm.
when we help other people, sometimes we can't help ourselves. So we get stuck in this dichotomy of like, well, I know I'm good at this, and sometimes I can help other people as well, but I'm not doing it for myself. So, and then it's like this cycle of like, well, I'm not doing it for myself, so then your business suffers as well, and it's kind of like this ongoing,
right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
yes, 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 absolutely. And I think there's so much validity in what you shared around, you can have all the structures and the scripts around sales, but you've got to do that inner work. And I know with me, when I first started my business, I invested a lot of time and money learning how to sell. And it was really helpful. And I know you do this as well. You have fantastic strategies. It was really helpful, and I'm so grateful that I spent the time doing that, because I knew I had a really big block around offering my services, because I felt like I was offering a piece of me, and then if somebody said no, that was like a rejection to my core soul and being, and it hurt at times. But even with all those structures and strategies, I really had to do and continue to do the inner work as well. So what are some of the things that, after that big crash that you went through, because you've been doing, like you said, you've been doing sales, and we were talking about this before, like mortgage sales and, portrait sales and all sorts of different sales. So you know sales. This is what I love about you. You really know sales. But for you, upon your own reflection, what were some key things that got you through that hurdle of like your own self-worth, your own kind of healing, to break through that barrier to actually the sales to like really start to come through and work for you?
Yeah, so in this journey of like losing everything and losing the business and, trying to build my business, I ended up actually going to get support from public services. So in the welfare line, because I have children, needed to feed my babies. So there was this moment, this was like my come to Jesus moment. And in hindsight, I went back and I looked at what was the decision that was made in that moment. And literally my entire business model is built around this decision. So I'm going to share with you what happened, and share with you what I call the permission slips I had to write for myself that day in that moment. In the moment, I didn't recognize it, but in hindsight, I was able to go back and go, this is what it was. And so sitting there in that office, multiple degrees, I was a multiple six-figure earner and struggling to grow the new business that I was trying to create, unhireable because I had been self-employed for so long, making a lot of money. So people were like, you're overqualified, you're unhireable, all of these things. And so I'm sitting there, and it just literally felt like everybody's eyes were on me, and I can feel like the shame inside of me. Like, what are you doing here? And they try to make me feel good and feel better and say, this was made for people like you. I'm like, no, people like me aren't supposed to be in here at all. Right. But I just remember sitting there feeling defeated and feeling depleted, because this is still that space where my value is tied into what I've accomplished. And it's like, what have you done, with your life? And I remember sitting there audibly hearing a voice say to me, Shameca, it's not over. You need to get up. You've got to fight for this. Like, everything that you have and that you need, you already possess. Right. And so I remember thinking, okay, this cannot be the end of what it is. And so here's what I did that day. When I look back on it, I had to release some things, and I gave myself 3 permission slips. And I'm going to share with you guys what those are. The first one was permission to trust my value. You just said it yourself. I've been in sales for a long time, right? No amount of what I've experienced as loss, setbacks, failures, disappointments can take away those experiences and the value that I bring to the table. And as a matter of fact, those experiences actually make me more valuable to my current clients because I can see that stuff a mile away. So I want you to think about this. If we had a $100 bill, which I don't have one, if I were to hold up a $100 bill and ask you how much it's worth, you're going to tell me it's worth
$100.
Right. And if I ball up that $100 bill, crumple it, smush it a little bit, how much is it worth?
$100.
What if I put it on the ground, threw it down, stomped on it, dragged it across the ground? How much is it worth?
$100.
This is the message that I had to get in. It's the message I want to encourage all of you. I don't know where you are in your business. It might be amazing, But I always feel like, especially if you're like me, you're a high achiever or overachiever, even when you're doing amazing, it somehow feels like you're not quite there yet. Because when you accomplish something, you raise the bar on yourself pretty quickly, right?
Yeah.
And when you have setbacks, you're like, oh my gosh, the whole world is falling sometimes, right? It doesn't matter what kind of setbacks, disappointments you have. All of those scars, all of those disappointments and setbacks are actually make you more valuable, right? None of that diminishes what the value that you bring to the table for the people that you work with, just like that $100 bill. So remember that $100 bill in those moments where you're feeling like, I'm just not where I want to be, or I don't have any value to bring to the table. So that was permission slip 1. Permission slip number 2 was permission to own my expert status, to own my authority, to claim my expert status. It's hard sometimes when you don't feel like an expert, right? But again, look at how many years I've been in sales. I know sales like the back of my hand, right? I know what I do. Like, I can talk about sales all day. I don't need a script. We can talk for hours about it. And most of you probably have something like that. That is also what you do in life, right? Tiffany, I'm pretty sure you can talk about branding all day long. You can look at a door and talk about what on the door has to do with branding, right? It doesn't matter what it is, you'll find it because it's what you live and it's what you breathe. And so in that moment, I wasn't claiming my expert status because of my setbacks. I just saw the loss. I just saw the pain. And I thought, well, there's people that are light years ahead of me, or they have more followers, or they have bigger communities, or, they're on TV. And so they're the experts. I'm not an expert, right? Because I haven't arrived yet. And so it's playing small, very, very small, and choosing not to tell people that, I could support or help them. And I have a story that helped me to really anchor in the fact that I know a lot and I've accomplished a lot with my clients, and I know what I do like the back of my hand. And here's what I want to ask you. Who's the greatest boxer of all time? Do you know?
Muhammad Ali.
You, without hesitation. Doesn't matter who I ask. I can ask little children. I can ask somebody from another country. It doesn't matter. I asked my Uber driver a couple of months ago, and he said the same thing. I'm like, I just want to test this out. I don't care who. And he had just come to America. He'd only been here for like a month. He said the same thing. And so it doesn't matter who I ask. They always undoubtedly say Muhammad Ali. Now, here's the follow-up question I want to ask you. And I'm going somewhere with this. Who said he was the greatest?
Muhammad Ali.
He did.
Yeah.
He did. In fact, he was quoted as saying, I said I was the greatest before I ever knew I was. That shift in his being started with his declaration of him being the greatest, and everything else came into alignment with that declaration. And so, yes, love, you are an expert at what you do. There will never be another you. There's no one who could do it like you. And that expert status that you're seeking, whatever that looks like for you, will never start until you claim it. So the second permission slip that I had to do was to claim my expert status, to declare that I am an expert at what I do and I can help and support people. And really get that in my spirit so that I can start selling, because I wasn't selling and I wasn't making money. And then the third one was to stop hiding and whispering in the marketplace and sell more. There's a stigma around just owning the fact that we can help and support people. There's a stigma around sales. And so we do things like call sales something else. We call sales conversations discovery sessions and all these things to avoid appearing like we're trying to sell to people. But I truly believe that sales is one of the most powerful gifts you can give people. A sales conversation is a powerful transformational interchange or exchange between two people. There's a lot of vulnerability and trust that is required, especially if you sell something that's transformational, that can change people's lives, their legacy, their bodies, their relationships, right? And so I had to give myself permission to stop hiding in the marketplace, stop whispering, and literally start to declare and let people know I can help you. Because remember, I was hiding because of my shame. And so while on the outside at attend networking events, I wasn't really reaching out to people, or when people reached out to me, I would not really follow up. And so I had to stop that. So those 3 permission slips began to change everything for me. Permission to trust the value that I bring to the table and allow myself to be well compensated for it. Permission to claim my authority and my expert status so that people knew right? That I know my stuff, to say, you know what, I am an expert at what I do. And then the third one was to stop hiding and to literally tell people I can support you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love those 3 points. And the $100 bill, God, I could see where you're going with it, but it really resonated because we are broken and we're not perfect and we going through our stuff and, we don't always have it together. And as much as social media makes, we like to make it look like we do, or we're looking at other people who
Yes.
seem to have it all together, they're broken up and crumpled in a ball sometimes as well. And it's
Yes.
okay.
It's okay.
Really okay. I love, love, love that analogy. And then Muhammad Ali, I mean, you're right. And I think a lot of boxers do this really well. They just friggin' own it. They just own it to the point where they convince themselves and they convince everyone else around them as well. So even if you're at the starting point of your business, or you're 6 years or 60 years into your business, the power of affirmations, like if you say them enough and if you feel into them enough, they will start to come true. So you just got to start from somewhere, right? And I really agree with you. Like when I first started my business, one of my business coaches has said to me, Tiffany, you're a branding expert. And I'd be like, I'm not. I've done a bit of marketing, I've done a bit of branding, and I kind of fell into this, and I was a graphic designer, and I just felt like it was kind of, imposter syndrome, right? Like I just felt like a lot of it was just hard work and effort and luck.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until, to your point, where I really started to own my expert status, even when I would get up on stage and I was crapping my pants and I still didn't even really believe it, just taking that step forward got me further and further, closer and closer to believing it. And then the right sort of clients would show up and the right conversations would happen, and then your confidence builds.
Exactly. That's such a beautiful illustration. Like most of the women I work with, they are brilliant. They're badasses at what they do. They're like you, right? They're super brilliant, but they're also high achievers and overachievers. So that thing where I talked about, we accomplished something, we're like, okay, hit that. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And we constantly raise the bar, so we constantly don't measure up. And here's what I know, that if you had taken a moment in that time to go, let me write down all the things that I accomplished. Let me write down every time somebody told me this is what you've done for me, or knowing you, or that conversation with you, this is what it has done for me. It would have shifted your perspective. And we don't often take the time to stop and look at what we have actually accomplished in our lifetime. When I did this exercise for myself, I actually figured out, I'd earned six figures before I was even 30 years. I was 25 or 26 years old when I earned my first six figures. 20-year-olds don't do that. Most people don't ever earn six figures. But I was not thinking about that. I was just thinking about the loss and the fact that I didn't have what I was mourning the loss of what I had, right? And looking on to the next thing. Like I thought I was going to be a millionaire by the time I was 40. By the way, I'm 43. Millionaire status is still MIA right now. We're working on that. So all of these things, like if you just take and write down a timeline, there's so much value that you've been able to create in the world and bring to the table. You will recognize you are an authority and an expert at what you do.
Yes. And I also want to point out, like, I love that you said you want to be a millionaire by the time you're 40 and now you're 43, but you haven't given up. Okay, 3 years have passed. It doesn't mean that you reach that you because you have a goal and you don't reach it, that you give up. You recommit to that goal as well. And I think that's the biggest lesson for me as an entrepreneur, is just continuing to recommit to why I'm doing it, because that's what gets you up in the morning. And I know that you, ever since I've known you, you're so dedicated to what you do and the why of what you do it. And you light up when you speak about what you do. So that's never going to go away. No one can ever take that away from you.
Not at all. They can try, but it's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. I think that recommitting part is huge, right? Because I also feel like when we're talking about the dollar bill, things are going to happen, right? Life's going to happen to you. Things are going to knock you down. And yeah, you're going to have some successes and you're going to have some losses. You're going to have some wins and you're going to have some setbacks. But when that voice of doubt shows up, you can recommit and remember why you're doing what you're doing in the first place. I tell my clients all the time, it's going to be, sometimes you're going to have to recommit to your why or to what you're trying to do. Sometimes it's day by day. Sometimes it's week by week. And sometimes it's minute by minute.
Yeah.
Reminding yourself.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, 100%. Um, oh gosh, I love this and I love you and I just love the way that you share and you're so authentic in the way that you show up and that's so important as well. And it's always so good to watch your Facebook lives because you offer so much enriching information, but there's so much truth and power behind who you are as well. Like you're a friggin' badass and you're not afraid to show it. And it makes so much sense with the 3 points that you really live by and what you share as well. Like you really own that. And that's an evolution. And like you said, you weren't always at that place, but those permission slips they're golden. And I think that they're permission slips that every single person should be giving themselves, like you said, every day or every minute or every second.
Yes. Whatever it takes.
Yes.
Whatever it takes.
Yes. So thank you. So I know you have a really awesome gift to share. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so here's what I want to give everybody. And this is like probably some of the most powerful work that I've ever done. I'm super proud of this. So I want to gift to everyone with access to my 6-figure sales crash course. It's a 5-part video series. It's a full training course that I want to gift you. And here's why. It's not that I want you to go out and sell 100K in a day or anything like that, but here's what I know. There's 2 things that I know. One, everything will change for you, especially if you're a business owner, when you could count on yourself to create the type of revenue that you want to create in your business anytime you want to, when you know that you can do it. And so this will allow you to be able to do that. Also, I know this. When you learn how to create a certain amount of money, whether it's $5,000 or $50,000 or $100,000 or $10,000, when you do it once and then you do it again, it only takes once. You can do it over and over again, not only any time you decide to do it, but with the speed that you require. So if I could do 100K in 90 days, I can do 100K in 30 days. I can do 100K in a day. It's just about scaling at that point. And so that's really what the 6-figure crash course is about. We're looking at eliminating any doubts, fears, and insecurities that you have when it comes to creating money in your business so that you can bring in 6 figures as fast as possible. And I know people don't like to talk about speed and they don't like to talk about money and talk about sales, but I do because it's a good thing. Right? We're going to give great meaning to money. We're going to give great meaning to sales. We're going to give great meaning to your ability to create money alongside of impact, right? We want to just say, oh, I want to create the impact and take the money out of it, but you can do more good with money than you can broke. So let's just be real about that. So what I do is I take you through, like, how do you create your offer that's going to create the 6 figures for you? What goes into something that allows you to be able to draw in 6 figures fast? I talk about sales conversations and how to walk your clients through a very transformational process. It's very simple, a very simple 7-step process that I walk you through. That's not a script. It's a framework for remember that transformational conversation that I talked about, that's between you and your client, which is a very powerful moment where you both get to be a little bit vulnerable and kind of share, how you can support your client and then what they need in order to be supported. And so all of that is included in this. It's my honor to share it with everyone at no cost.
Wow, that is awesome. That's a really, really great gift. While you were talking, there was something else I was thinking of. When you went through that stage of stepping in, not jumping into, but stepping into and starting to value your own self-worth again, and experiencing all those things that you've been through, a young mother, earning multiple 6 figures, to starting your own business, all those sorts of things, and to where you are now on your path to being, a $1 million business owner, what would be your definition of true wealth?
Of course, this has changed over time, right? So I think true wealth, and I'm so certain that a lot of people have said this, but it just comes from within. Even thinking about that, and this is not something I'm saying. It's not something I'm saying because I'm like, oh, this is cute. If you don't feel wealthy on the inside, there's no way in the world you're going to create wealth on the outside. And I think that's what I learned on this journey. And what I've realized is the more I feel unworthy and unwealthy, my outside is a self-fulfilling prophecy. What I see on the outside, what I manifest and create in the world, what I experience of the world mirrors that. And so if on the inside, I'm always reminded that I have so much value to bring to the world, that there are people on this earth who need me, right? They're my divine assignment, where it's a divine appointment. It's going to happen, and I need to show up for them. That the wealth of the outside will begin to materialize because it's a mirror. It's a mirror effect. It just absolutely is. And so instead of waking up every day like I used to, grinding it out, working all kinds of hours and trying to create wealth, right? The tangible money wealth, I actually literally spend 2 hours a day making sure that I feel wealthy on the inside. And I don't allow myself to work until I get to that space.
Oh my gosh, that's such a great insight and so important. If we spent 2 hours of a morning or whenever we get up focusing on that before we even start our day, what a productive day we would have.
Yeah.
And also a good reminder that it's not so much what we're doing, it's who we're being.
Yes. Definitely. That is the key right there, Tiffany. That's everything. It's who you're being all day long.
Which is really hard as overachievers to really remind ourselves of that, because I know for me, I was always, by climbing the corporate ladder, even in my own business, how much money I'm making,
yes,
how hard I'm working, because society tells us if we work hard that we're worth something, and we're good boys, good girls, work hard. But you actually don't have to. My business has been the most successful when I've been burnt out and I haven't been able to work, and I've had to take myself away for a week because I just can't physically do it anymore. And I've released all the anxiety and anxiousness about it because I just don't have the energy. And then the abundance would just flow in.
Yeah, totally agree. That's why I do the 2 hours. I don't think that you have to do 2 hours. It's not like, oh, set the clock for 2 hours and everything's going to be amazing and you're going to manifest all this wealth. It's what Shameca has to do, because Shameca is a high achiever that will grind it out. And so whenever I feel that anxiety in my life and my business to create more, I want to have this goal. Okay, let me tell a story. I'm going to out myself. So I set a goal this year to do 100K month. I did 100K quarter last year, and I set a goal to do 100K month. And literally I got into that energy of high achiever, push mode, and everything just flopped. Literally my sales went stagnant. I was like, what's going on? Because it was the wrong energy behind it. And so I've since taken a step back, and it's so funny what I'm creating right now, because I'm not really doing anything to create. I'm cleaning my house. I'm doing crazy stuff, and people are inboxing me I'm in sale. Okay. I'm it's insane, but it's so true. And so I choose 2 hours because I know how dogmatic I used to be on the other side of working on the weekends, working at midnight, all of those things. And whenever I feel myself get into that energy, I literally stop, pull back, and I do something that puts me in that feel good abundance mode. And it's amazing how what I create in life from that space as opposed to the other space.
Yes. I love it. I love it all. So in saying that, my other question is, what gets you into that space, that abundant space? What would give you what I like to say, what gets you into a place of happy dance? What would make you happy dance or get you into that place of joy that you need?
Music. I literally dance. So listen, I have this Bluetooth in shower speaker. And so literally I start my day off with whatever I need, but I dance in the shower.
Oh my gosh.
So it's I turn on my music and I just dance. I literally take some time, and if the song is moving me, I just enjoy myself that whole entire time. It's so much fun. But whatever I can do to get myself laughing and just enjoying my life, because I think that's the other thing we forget to do, right? We forget to enjoy the life that we're so busy building and creating. And it's in the enjoying of that we create more of it. So that's my fun thing. That's part of my ritual that I do in the morning is I turn on my 90s hip hop R&B station and I just go back down memory lane and I dance. And I dance, around my house. I dance in the shower and I just enjoy the moment.
Yes, yes, it can be that easy. I think I need to get one of those waterproof Bluetooth shower speakers.
It's changed everything. Like I
Oh,
used to like bring my music inside and try to listen to it. Now it's in the shower with me. So the party doesn't stop. So whether it's music or affirmations or whatever, I can just keep it going throughout the whole process. It's been a year since I've had it, and it has been the most um, one of my most significant investments I've made in myself.
and there you go. It doesn't have a significant investment, doesn't have to be an expensive one.
No, I paid $5 for it.
Oh my God, even better. Okay, last question. Who inspires you?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question.
I know. I love my loaded questions.
You know who inspires me right now? And this is so funny because it just came to me. I was thinking, oh, there's just this amazing people in the world. And I'm kind of getting emotional thinking about it. But little girls inspire me. And there's a little girl in particular who goes to my church. And there's just a pureness about how, look at my eyes, I'm like totally emotional thinking about this, about how she moves in the world. And one day, I think it was last year, maybe around Easter, I was sitting and talking to her mom, and she came over to me and she looked at me just with this pure heart and she goes, "Excuse me?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "You have lovely hair."
Lovely.
Yes. And I thought, oh my gosh. And so watching her grow over the past few years, and she taught herself how to tap dance. There's just this energy of pureness. Showing up at my son's school and watching these young girls sing like Katy Perry songs in their talent shows. And I'm like, what a time to be a young woman in this world where you get to see yourself reflected back in so many different ways, but then you get to match and honor that. So different for them than it has been for us. And so I look to them for inspiration, to remind myself to have that childlike wonder as I create my life and live my life and just be in the world.
Oh my gosh, that is so inspiring and such a good reminder. Because if you think about, there's a little girl in all of us that continues striving to
I'm
come
such
out.
a big baby. Sorry, guys.
No, I was tearing up. I really felt the energy of that. It's such a good reminder. I think children, their innocence in general is just a great way to reflect of like, yes, they're truly being who they are without any inhibitions. And that's how we should all be and can be.
Yeah, we can. And we get to choose, right? We can decide that that's how we will be. It may not happen every time, but just like everything else, minute by minute, day by day, however you need to. I went to a retreat this January. We were in this amazing 12,000 square foot mansion, sharing it with some amazing powerhouse women. And it had like a movie theater, a game room. It had secret passageways. And so I made a vow to myself that I was going to do everything in this house, even if I did it alone, from the swimming pool, because how often do we go places and we just don't enjoy it, right? I did everything. Everything. I watched a movie in the movie theater. I played foosball and air hockey and just enjoyed every inch and every space of that place that was available to me. And that's not always my norm, but that's how I desire to live my life so that I do feel wealthy all the time instead of stressed out and in lack and in whatever we create lack feelings even when we are not living in lack, right? Because we're like,
Oh, I know.
go, go, go.
True. It's true. Wow. Okay. Beautiful. I could talk to you all day long, and I'm sure everyone could listen to you all day long, but we'll do this again, I'm sure. Thank you so much for just sharing who you are and the way that you show up and being here today. I really appreciate you, and I look forward to us co-creating and contributing more together in the future. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you, everybody, for sitting here and listening to us talk about all of this stuff. I think this is an amazing thing that we're doing. And I appreciate you so much for putting this all together.